Okay, go ahead, Dart.
Okay, great. I'd like to call to order the Niskayuna Conservation Advisory Council. This is the May 5th, 2021 meeting. And why don't we start the meeting off by calling roll?
So I have Ellen Daviero.
Here.
Ashok Ramasubramanian.
Present.
Ann Thornton.
Present.
And our newest member, Nick Bonanno. Is that right, Nick?
Right. Yeah, that's right. I'm here. Yep.
Our youth representative, Rihanna Sarkar.
Here.
And Chairman Strayer.
Here.
And I believe we're missing Chelsea Ratner and Jeannie Orr. Kathy Harder turned in her resignation. She's moving to Schenectady, so she can't be on the CAC. And it was effective in April. So we'll miss her. She's our super plant lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Well, Nick, I'd like to welcome you to the committee. And, if you have any questions along the way, we're pretty informal, and ask away and we'll work through the meeting. So
Sounds good.
It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
Okay, the first order of business will be to approve the minutes, and we have the minutes before you. And the first group of minutes is the March 3rd, 2021. Does anybody have any comments on that?
This is Ashok. I had a small clarification, and this could just be because I am confused. In line 20, the minutes say the CAC welcomed Ann Thornton and Raina Sarkar to the committee. And in line 85, it said the CAC reviewed youth applications. We can't have welcomed Raina and reviewed her application on the same meeting. That's my confusion.
Yeah, Ashok, that's a really good point. I would like to withdraw the minutes and let me figure that out, because that worries me about the second half of the minutes. So I would like to withdraw them for action. If that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd rather us get them worked out and straightened out.
Sometimes it's copy and paste errors, but let me go look at it.
Okay, then moving on, privilege of the floor. Is Paulina back on, or?
Yeah, hi. This is Paulina's husband, Chris Zimmerman. How's it going?
Hi, Chris. Good.
Hey, and so my wife, Paulina's here with me.
Okay,
yeah, and
you
so
can address the committee and just state your name and address for the record. That's all.
Yeah, my name is Chris Zimmerman. My address is 1430 Regent Street. I'm a member of the tree committee and also an ecologist by training. So today I'm going to kind of describe an issue that we observed at Blotnick Park that we want to bring to the attention of the committee. And then I have 4 recommendations that I'd like to see the committee follow up on. And so my wife and I were hiking out on the trails at Blotnick Park. We contacted the town about this. We believe that there was a new trail constructed at Blotnick Park down by the bike trail. We believe that the trail bisects an area that is delineated by the New York State DEC as a restricted area. And so there are signs posted within the restricted area, and the trail appears to bisect the restricted area. The sign states that this is an endangered species area. It's a restricted area. It says endangered species critical habitat. Trespass in this area is prohibited, and it's posted by New York State DEC. So we think the trail kind of goes through this area. So we did not know if, and the trail is posted and is on multiple public maps. So we didn't know if the Conservation Advisory Committee was aware of this, and it has approved this trail in this area. And so just in observation, we think this area is a bald eagle nesting habitat, and then that's why it's delineated. And so we don't have any information on whether this is active. So I guess our first recommendation is that the Conservation Advisory Committee follow up on this concern and determine the status of the restricted area and determine the kind of the status of the trail if it actually does bisect this bald eagle nesting habitat, because we like bald eagles. And also it's breaking basically DEC law. So if the CAC could get back on to us about kind of the status of that within a month to let us know, what their kind of action is, we would greatly appreciate it. My second
Laura,
point,
do we
or
know
second
exactly where this is?
No, but sorry, Chris, I'm showing them the pictures that Paulina sent me that she forwarded me. I just put them on my screen.
Thank you, Laura.
Yeah, so this is basically where the Blocknick Park old landfill, and then basically butts kind of the forested edge. There is basically then a new trail there that kind of goes down to the bike path. So I can certainly follow up with a map, and it would be willing to do kind of a walk and site visit if that's desired. So my second recommendation.
I can tell them exactly where it is.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Paulina. If you go on the Mohawk Hudson Bike Trail and you start at Blocknick Park and go down the big hill, the first access to the hiking trails, it's called the Shaker Gorge Loop and the Pine Ridge Trail. If you go up, it's a very steep hill up, and we believe that this new trail was actually constructed to avoid that very steep hike up. We believe that this little spur or this new trail that goes out into the restricted area was to allow, I believe, mountain bikers and not hikers to avoid this very steep hike up the Shaker Gorge Loop.
Right.
Initial access point. But I can send you a little clip of the map so that you know exactly where it is.
So our second recommendation, I guess we're not familiar with the process. I guess we brought this issue to the Parks Department and we didn't hear back. But we recommend that the CAC be part of a review process for any new trails or new infrastructure. So we don't know about the approval process for trails or other infrastructure, but we would recommend that the CAC be part of that kind of review process and that somebody walk these locations before any new infrastructure or trails are put in. My third point is that CAC review all existing trails for sensitive habitat, which would potentially include steep areas on potentially erodible soils as well as steep slopes. And then, our last point is that we recommend that, we're not sure if the CAC is the appropriate committee, but that safety be consideration on some of these trails. So we don't really know about the liability that the town might, be under, given that some of these trails are relatively steep. So that's
or what they're permitted for use. Are they hiking trails? Are they mountain bike trails?
Are they horse trails?
Like, there's no signage to indicate what the usage is for these trails as I said, some of them are very steep and are on surfaces that are already starting to erode. And we were just concerned if they're not marked correctly, if they're not, clearly indicated, like what's the town's liability there.
So that kind of summarizes, our concerns. And so our primary concern is certainly this trail that goes through the nesting habitat, but then also the sighting and trails and review of trails into the future. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, Paulina, I'm sorry you got kicked off when I was live streaming. It told me it was going to kick you off, but you could have come right back. And then, for the record, Chelsea Ratner did join the meeting. And then I feel like the council can talk about all 4 of these recommendations. I did bring it up at the highway committee this morning, to ask if anybody knew what the history was and if those signs were still active. And at least one member thought that the habitat was still active. And so they asked me to reach out to DEC and see if there's a record of those signs and if we can do a site walk with them and make sure that that habitat is correctly designated. And then we would block off those trails and try and get maybe like a work day to reroute them so that they don't go through it. Hopefully.
Well,
Laura,
if you want us to do a site walk with you or show you where they're at, Laura, we'd be happy to do that.
The signs, yeah. So, and when we were talking at the highway meeting, they do concur that it's an eagle's nest. Like they did remember that those signs were put up for an eagle's nest. So I didn't know, the eagle's nests are normally pretty easy to see. Like, did you guys see one in the area?
Yeah, we didn't, but I think it's one of those large kind of pine trees is where potentially the nest, but it also could be maybe a spot where they're roosting. So I don't know, I don't know the details of it, but yeah.
And
I guess it's just that, is it possible that you guys could give us some better understanding of the approval process for, new trails? Like who approves those and who reviews them? Or is that not something that the privilege of the floor can ask? I don't really know the protocol.
You can ask anything. Yeah, you can always ask. I don't know the answer though, unless, I would dart. You don't know the answer to that, do you?
No, I was going to ask you who has actual jurisdiction over that, those trails. Is it volunteers or is it some town committee?
So the town,
right, but I guess I'm saying like who approves them, right? So maybe a volunteer puts them in, but it's up to, a town department to approve them and ensure that they're safe and meet some trail specifications.
Yeah, I understand the question. I don't know, Laura.
Right. So I guess that's what I would think that, from an environmental concern, the CAC would be an appropriate committee to kind of evaluate that.
Yeah, I know that John Brown was originally a big proponent of the trails in that area, but that goes back.
And don't get me wrong, I love the trails. So we just want to make that clear that we enjoy the trails and we think it's a great community asset. We just want to make sure that they're properly cited.
Chris, yeah, I don't know how they were set up, but I know that he was responsible for a fair amount of that work in that area, but it wasn't through the CAC at the time.
Chris, does it look like a trail that was definitely purposely constructed, or does it look like it was made just by people riding that path over and over again?
Yeah, no, it's a trail that has a trail marker, and then I found it on some Google Maps. I think it was Gaia Maps where it actually is currently mapped. And then, so it's out there to the public. So yeah, it's not just a casual or user trail.
Yeah,
it's definitely been cleared, and even the way that it's been cleared doesn't even seem safe. So that's why we were wondering who approved it. And then
Right.
like the photo that Laura has up, you know, it's going right next to a sign that says restricted area.
Yeah.
So we're like, who walked this and approved it? So
Yeah. Right.
So I know that you guys are working on like the you know, the committees, you know, working on the natural resource inventory, which is, I think is great. And, you know, this is the natural resource inventory would be a great tool that could be used in reviewing new infrastructure.
Do we know who maintains these the trails at the state park? Like, does the Niskayuna Town Highway Department maintain them, or is it DEC people who maintain them?
So it's definitely not DEC, right? So part of the John Brown Trail, Lock 7 trail system is underlying owned by the state as a wilderness park. But they allow the town to own, operate, and maintain the trails and the park system that we have on the Lock 7 side. And then those trails bleed right into the town of Niskayuna property. That part of it was designated with a subdivision on Whitmire, and then part of it is part of our landfill. And so we're the underlying landowner and the operator and maintainer, but they have a very strong trail, Friends of the Preserve Trail people. And I think that I have to double check, but they play a strong role in the maintenance of those trails.
Great.
So
yeah. So it's great to, you know, to hear that there's a volunteer group out there that are maintaining and building trails. I guess we would just ask that there be some oversight by town departments as well as this committee as trails are being, you know, proposed. So that plans be developed and proposals are made and then trails be installed.
mm-hmm.
or even a review of existing trails.
Yeah. So that's what we had to discuss. So we thank you for your time and consideration. And
No,
you
thank
feel
you.
free to reach out if you guys have any questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Laura, we should probably find out who actually is responsible for the oversight of those trails.
Yeah, so I will let you guys know when I found the phone number to call on the DEC. So when I reach out to the DEC, if they can come out and verify that habitat should be protected. And well, you guys know me pretty well already, like, and hopefully DEC knows this as well. But you know, even if the nest isn't necessarily there, if there was one before, you might still want to reserve the land and get the trail out of there, because if there was one there before, it's probably pretty good habitat. And you know, it should stay. And then the other thing that is interesting about eagles is they will alternate nests. So even if it's not an active nest, if there's a bit of nest, sometimes they'll a mated pair will go back and forth between a couple nests. So but I would think the DEC would know all of that. So anyway, I will reach out and see what DEC has to say about that. And then again, we'll get a clarification on who approves the trails. And like I said, from the highway committee, I think as long as the DEC says, yeah, you gotta keep them out, the town's gonna keep them out. They just gotta get that clarification, I think, because people were unsure about it this morning when I brought it up.
Great.
Great. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye.
And Laura, I'd like to offer to help, since I'm doing the NRI work anyway, if it means taking a little load off your plate, I'm happy to make the call to the DEC and follow up on it.
Okay, yeah, there's a whole section of DEC that is actually dedicated to bald eagle's nest. So I was just going to call them and say, I think that this habitat was delineated for a bald eagle's nest, and we've discovered some trails in there, and so we feel that it's our obligation probably to keep them out, but we just wanted to touch base with you on what those signs really mean.
Sure, I can make the outreach. Can you just send me the web page that you are looking at via email? I need
Sure.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's just one thing to take into consideration that, I don't know exactly. I assume that the DEC would definitely be willing to kind of work with you and you're bringing this to their attention. But right now, potentially, there might be a violation. So I'll just let you know that,
We're self-reporting ourselves.
Potentially. I mean, I really don't know much about that. I'm just saying that, I don't know the details. So, yeah. So, so yeah, maybe, I don't know. That's why I'm just saying maybe Lori should call, but
Maybe. Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
All right.
But
So
you could call and verify the area.
Yeah,
Still
exactly.
active without like explaining why you need to know. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to get you to break the law or anything, but
DEC, I find DEC to be great to work with.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that they'll be very cooperative. It's just in that you're reaching out to find out the information. So
Yeah.
this kind of stuff I think happens quite a bit. So
Yeah.
so thanks for your time, and we appreciate it. Let us know if you have any questions.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. So as a follow-up, Laura, you'll reach out to DEC. You'll let us know or Ashok, you can let us know what they say. I think the other issue, though, is this issue about whether we need to be reviewing new trails as they go through or not. And we should probably figure out if we're the appropriate people to do that.
Yeah, I don't know how the trail stuff works, so. And I only kind of have heard before about the Friends of the Block 7 John Brown trails.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to look into that a little bit, and then I can get a sense. My guess is that the trails are actually put in without town approval, but I don't know that. But that's my guess.
It seems like the CAC should definitely be informed, even if they don't have approval rights.
Yeah, I think it would fall within our jurisdiction.
When it's sensitive habitat like that too, for sure, for sure.
Okay, do we need to have any other further discussion on this topic, or should we move on?
So I would, I walk those trails, or, I walk down there a lot when I have with my dog. So, I mean, I'm not going to be here this weekend, but I will, I'd be happy to walk them anytime if you need somebody to walk them.
Thanks, Ellen.
Okay, let's move on to the EAF referrals. The first one is EAF 2021-02. That's 1330 Bulltown Road. And this is the CVS pharmacy, and they are proposing to do dual use. They want to put in some examination rooms or some consultation rooms to basically act as a first line treatment. Is that correct, Laura? Yeah. So if we look at in our packet, there are some drawings. I think we looked at them a time before, and there were some other additional questions about parking that have been answered as well. I know that the committee also had some concerns about the traffic. So Laura, why don't you review what we have?
You're muted, Laura.
Laura, you're on mute. If you're
Sorry. Yeah, so I didn't mean to hit stop sharing. Okay, so this is the main CVS on Balltown Road there, and here's like this is the main door that you're used to entering when you come in. You know, there's parking on this side and parking on that side. And you know, this is the way they set up their aisles. It's mostly the same. I think it's a little bit changed, but what they would be doing is in here right now, this is kind of a wall with some aisles and merchandise here, is that they would be taking out those aisles with merchandise and changing this wall a little bit and adding 3 kind of exam rooms. Well, they call one exam room and then 2 RHC rooms. Not really sure what that is. And then like a waiting room area. And they're changing just a couple other minor things inside the building. Oops. Like they're adding a little like sales center over here and stuff, but none of that really triggers planning board review special use permit. What's triggering the special use permit is this little nook here with the exam rooms and the waiting room, because they did say, you know, they would give people vaccinations in these rooms. They could give people sports physicals. They can do diabetes checks, like some of the other things they mentioned they can do, Clark. They kind of have a list of them. It's very minor. They're not an emergent care center, and they're not a doctor's office, and they're not an emergency room. So they're lower than all of those things. But
right. And just it took a while to figure that out. RHC is Regional Health Center.
Oh, okay.
That's what they're calling this area. And I can't remember if it's staffed by it's more than a registered nurse. It's a
nurse practitioner. Yep.
Nurse practitioner.
Or a physician's assistant. And so here you can kind of see Clark did an analysis of the parking because it's 2 uses within a single building. That's the parking on the outside, and we do feel like even with the 2 uses, the parking is still adequate. They filled out their short environmental assessment form there. A while ago, you guys looked at this like in 2020, and there were just some questions like if they were going to have a separate entrance, and they would not. And I can't remember if there was any other questions about that, but yeah, so they came to the planning board. You could see in our agenda statement that the planning board just wanted to get an idea of the additional wastes generated as well as the additional vehicle trips. So we know that the parking is adequate, but they were wondering about the vehicle trips. Did anybody have any questions about that? I'll go back to this one.
Yeah, so I think the outstanding item for the planning board is the applicant was to come back with some form of a traffic analysis of anticipated increase, if there is one, related to the regional health center. How much more traffic that would add to the site.
Laura?
Yeah.
I must not have been here for this one, but did they come up with a way they're going to dispose of some of the, you know, medical supplies and other medicine they might not use? I know like the classic is to dump it down the sink. That's really bad. So I'm just curious.
Well, that was, I mean, yeah, they did say that they would have, you know, like Sharps is the main source of waste that they would have because of doing vaccines.
I got you.
but yeah, they have proper ways of disposing all of that. I guess the question would be like right now they actually do that, right? So actually right now the CVS does testing for COVID-19 in the back. And it does do vaccinations. So they're equipped with how to handle the waste. I guess the question was how much more would be generated? Like, would they need an extra dumpster? Would the dumpster be picked up more often? Those were like some of the questions.
Okay.
But they're like the waste streams themselves are regulated at a much higher level than like just the CVS. Like they're regulated but if not New York State, it's probably regulated in state level.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
There was also a little bit of a complaint, really, about them not emptying their existing dumpster quite as often as maybe they should have. So that kind of got brought up too.
Although, like, I would say mostly, like, because the parking can handle it. It seems to be where the CVS is going. It seems a little bit weird to be combining the retail with the with the medical, but generally speaking, if that's the mission of CVS and that's the way it's going, the building can support it. You know, our code does allow it, just has to have that extra level of review. There wasn't, that I heard, like, terrible opposition to it. There was just questions.
So can I just ask a question? I know, are they currently doing COVID tests inside or outside?
They're outside. I mean, I haven't had one there, but he mentioned that you can drive around the back of CVS and get a COVID test. I think that's what he said.
All right. Yeah. So I mean, outside COVID tests are much different than a COVID test inside. So I guess that's my concern is if you have this place and then now now people are going to walk in with, with the or are they still going to have the drive through in the back? Because anyway.
So that was, I think, actually, Ellen, you had that question at the last meeting, which was one of the reasons that I actually brought that concern up to him. We said, one, we were wondering if you have a different door, or two, like, these people that are sick are walking through the front door all the way to the back of the store. And they were like, well, they're walking all the way to the back of the store right now anyway, because that's where they go to pick up their medicine. But I mean, they don't have a separate entrance, and they did have a, I mean, COVID, I think, is a little bit unique in that I would say that it would be unlikely that this proposal is tied in any way to what they do with COVID in and outside of their buildings. How they're managing their COVID type of support to the community is not tied up necessarily into this proposal. Whether or not they choose to do the testing outside or inside, they could actually move the testing inside tomorrow if they wanted, right? Because they don't need the exam rooms to be offering the services that they're offering.
Okay.
So I know that, like, maybe if that's important to people or someone, they would say, I don't really want to go into CVS. But as far as, like, this proposal goes, how they manage COVID isn't really tied to whether or not they would be able to have a medical office. And COVID is a little different.
Is there any feedback from the or comments? Like there's like a letter sent out, right? When there's something new going on, like you send a letter to like the people within like 100 feet radius or some such. So is there any feedback from the neighbors, the houses, other businesses, etc.?
So a public hearing was mailed out last Friday and will be held at the planning board on Monday. But we haven't heard from anybody, and I haven't gotten any emails or letters yet.
And that would be, Laura, correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be a planning board public hearing, and then they'll also have to have a town board public hearing. So
that's correct.
Yeah, so there will actually be two opportunities for people to speak.
Yeah, I know that there was some concern when they redid the building. Some residents did come out, but I don't know if the sentiment is still there. Most people were concerned about the lighting, to be honest with you, from what I can recollect.
And the facade.
And the facade, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. So I'm just going to stick with, I still think that they should have a separate back entrance for people to come and go to a medical facility that they possibly could be, that's me. But, you know, everything else, you know, I'm sure is, you know, passes all the other muster, but I think they should have a separate entrance for people to use that part of it.
Does anybody else have any other comments?
So did you guys want to answer the EAF questions and put that recommendation if it's supported by the committee for the additional door to separate the types of services? Chelsea's nodding.
I'm ready to do the EAF.
Okay.
The other question I think that we have is they have not supplied the traffic counts yet or the throughput. Do we want to wait on that? We can still go through the checklist if that's fine, but do we want to wait for the traffic?
So can I just ask a question? Do we have any, I didn't notice in here, but any data of another CVS that has, that has transitioned to this type of services, and if they, in their increase in traffic or not increase of traffic?
I think we talked a bit about that at the planning board meeting, and I think the closest one was in Massachusetts, although not that far away in Massachusetts, but we couldn't find one in New York. So that was another thing he was going to look into, because
yeah, that's a very good question, and that's one of the open items that came up during the planning board meeting, the idea of some type of traffic statement. I think either a study or a statement was requested. And they also requested that they provide more information on the regulations that they follow in not only in New York State, but in other states. We definitely got the impression that this is not the first CVS that would have this minute clinic, they call it, inside. But we don't have any information directly on that yet. But that's something that may be able to be provided with the traffic study.
Yeah, this is, I mean.
So can I just ask another question? So, just as, a community member who lives here, right? So I'm not feeling well, and I want to decide my choices are Union Street Urgent Care, the one on Balltown Road, or the Minute Clinic. I guess I'm trying to decide why I would choose one over the other one. I mean, I know the last time we talked about this, it was because, you could do maybe things for camps, for camps for kids and stuff like that. But I guess if you can't do an X-ray, I'm just wondering.
Hey, Laura, I'll respond a little bit because I'm remembering a little bit more from the planning board. They talked about even like a decent cut or abrasion or something like that needed a certain level of medical treatment. I think this is definitely well below an urgent care. It's maybe if you had a cut that you thought might need a little butterfly bandage or something like that. But my understanding is it's a long way from an urgent care. I forgot if they said they would have any diagnostic capability there, Laura. Yeah, you're not going to get an X-ray or anything like that.
Right, I remember that. All right, okay. It was just a curiosity point because at some point, either they have to. It might be a moot point. I mean, it is the planning. So I'm just going to stick with, I think they should have a separate entrance for sick people, and whatever they want to do, I guess, is fine. And how they're going to, mitigate how they, bill to insurance companies and all that other stuff, I won't worry about. But those are my thoughts.
Okay, Laura, do you want to go through the checklist?
Okay, so will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? I would recommend no, because it is an allowable special use permit to have both of those uses in a single building. It just needs that level of review. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or? Okay, good. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? Okay, right.
No.
I think that goes to the traffic. It could.
Well, we could do small and then make a note. Where's my editor? That this would potentially add additional vehicle trips. No, I don't know. Vehicle trips per hour. Like that?
Wouldn't a second use there by nature say it's a change of use, or, I mean, it's an additional use.
Right. That's why I'm saying I don't think that's a no, but is it moderate to large? I don't know.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
I mean, we said it before that area was being, I mean, they have the pharmacy back there, so you already have people coming in for medical reasons. I don't think it would have a large impact on that.
Okay. It's not in a CEA, so that one's easy. Will the proposed action result in adverse change in the existing level of traffic or existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway? I could put the same note down here if you guys wanted.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is it currently on a bus route?
I do not know the answer to that.
Okay.
There is a bus on Balltown Road, but I don't think it goes down that far.
I think the bus route is goes to the Balltown Urgent Care one. Sorry, the Union one.
The 1769 Union Street.
Yes.
Okay. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy? Probably not. Will the proposed action impact public-private water supplies or wastewater? Those are no's. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
And result in adverse changes to natural resources, wetlands, water. They're not changing anything on the outside side.
Mm-hmm.
And then result in increase in potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage. Again, not adding any impervious. And then create a hazard to environmental resources or human health. No, but let me write this. All right. Does the board support at least recommending a separate entrance? Or is that the whole board? Or is that, how do you guys feel about that?
The question is that a must or is that a want? You know,
I think it's a want. I don't think you're going to get it, but right.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you, Ellen, on that, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
I just think that, they should be mindful that, somebody should bring it to their attention. So why not us?
Well, I did. They didn't want to do it, but we can bring it up again because this is our formal recommendation.
Apparently, no last time is not good enough. You did not hear it clearly. It was not. No is no is no.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So, is there any other recommendations we wanted to add in there?
No, but can I just ask on a sidebar? Just when are we allowed to start? Asking people, to do, like green energy for their businesses.
Anytime. We could even say in our recommendations here, try to have any renovations comply with a higher level of green energy, something like that. I'm gonna add that
I
in there.
support that.
Oops.
Is there some
I-
standard we could cite there, Laura?
Does anybody know of one?
The only thing that was came to my mind is, is maybe a couple of weeks ago, that, Rotterdam, the guy built a whole bunch of, townhouses maybe, and he, they have like a zero net carbon, because they have, they have, solar panels on the roof or something. So I was just curious as, when maybe we could start asking our businesses and to follow something.
If I can get better words in there, I will, but I'll say strive for all additions, renovations. Whoops.
Are we allowed to say in there that that strive for no pesticides on the lawns that you have? Like, are we allowed to say that?
Well, that's not as related to what they're doing, but we could just put like a note.
Yes.
Is that even enforceable though, Laura?
No, but anytime we bring it up, it's not a bad thing. And commercial pesticide-free initiatives for landscaping. There, that seems good, right?
Sounds great to me.
Well, the
Well,
worst
Ash,
they
you're
can
never
say
gonna
is
get it.
no. Yeah.
Go ahead, Aisha.
No, I'm sorry. That was a mistake. My daughter is here and I'm...
Oh, okay. Laura, I just have a couple questions. One of my concerns last time was by doing dual use, are we opening the door that this could evolve to become an urgent care center, with the sense that the examining space could be larger than the retail space incrementally or not?
Well, if they were to significantly change the square footage of either the retail or the medical, it would have to go back to the planning board because of the impacts to the parking. So you couldn't significantly alter the square footages of the two uses without more approvals.
Okay, could we put something in there that we basically are making the recommendation based on the specific plan, and that any additional square footage for examining rooms should require a new review?
That's a really good point, Dart, because at the planning board, the person representing CVS said they were going to lose a little bit of retail space, obviously, to create this regional health center area. And they were also going to change the types of things they stock in the store slightly to kind of cater to that. So that's a good point.
Oh, here. Sorry. Oh, you know what? You guys probably can't read that as much. Sorry. So I put, consider adding a separate entrance to separate the two uses, strive for all additions, renovations to comply with clean energy and green initiatives, and any additional medical professional office space square footage should require additional planning board review. And then just as a note, the town is supportive of commercial pesticide-free initiatives for your landscaping.
So what would the board like to do? Do we want to make a motion? Do we want to wait for the traffic study? The questions on the floor.
I'd like to hear what the neighbors have to say. That's always something that I take into account. Like they they said, Laura said there'll be 2 opportunities for them to comment. I'd like to hear what concerns the neighbors say.
Anybody else?
So I don't necessarily need the traffic. But I'm not one way or the other. So if people want to wait for the traffic, I'm okay with that as well.
I think it already has traffic consistently going through there, so I don't require that in order to push this through, but I'm on the same page where it depends on what other people are thinking.
So, the planning board called for the public hearing. Any seeker action wouldn't be held until the town board, which they still have to call their public hearing. It's a couple months away. So I'll just bring these notes to the next planning board meeting and then bring this back to you guys with any additional updates from the public hearing and the traffic counts.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because really, I think we should wait for the public hearing just to hear if there is concerns going to the character or the neighborhood. And they should, just as a matter of principle, I think we should see the traffic because we sort of asked for it. We haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah. What's interesting, and we talk about this sometimes, or maybe we talk about it at the planning board level. In this case, you can, because it's a site plan. And so we don't have to do the secret determination for later. But like in the case of the next application, you have to make your secret determination prior to the public hearing because the New York State ruled that subdivision applications aren't complete until you've made your secret determination, and you can't call for a public hearing until an application is complete. So it's just a lot of times you guys actually don't have the luxury or ability to wait for a public hearing. But in this case, you do. So that's completely fine, and let's do that. But you can't always be like, let's wait for the public hearing, because in some cases we can't call for it until you take action.
Well, thanks for that clarification. That's helpful.
Yes, Laura, thanks for the clarification. And I can withdraw my request if other people are ready to make the recommendation now.
I think we're good. I think we have a good plan on this. I just wanted to let you guys know that that can't be something that that you can't wait for that. But because there's other things that are happening, there's no problem at all in getting that information to you guys on this application and getting that traffic count stuff.
Okay, great. Let's move on to the second EAF. This is 2021-03. 509 Fillmore Avenue, and it's a 3-lot subdivision. And Laura, if you could please walk us through this because it's very confusing.
So what I'm going to do is, so the actual map itself is very hard when you look at it. I'm going to share the screen of the 2 highlights that Clark made so you can really see what's going on. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
So here's Fillmore. And there's a lot of lines going on, but essentially this is the current configuration. So just look at the pink lines. Currently, there's 1 lot that has an existing home on it and a side yard that he's mowing. Then there's a second lot that has an existing home with 2 garages, and then it has this funny little backyard area here, which isn't super usable to it because this kind of looks like its yard, right? This is a landlocked parcel that's vacant, but it doesn't have any access, so it's not serving anybody, and you couldn't put a house on it. And this guy here, number 3, is a small sliver of land that's owned by the town of Niskayuna. If you look at this, and we talked a little bit about this when we were looking at the Hilltop. Do you guys remember when we were looking at the Hilltop subdivision, which by the way got withdrawn? These are the original deed parcels, but that's not the way the land actually got created. But there was something, a little sliver of land over here that was left. It's tiny. It's 35 feet wide. So it's not buildable. And it got foreclosed on the taxes multiple times. The town of Niskayuna owns it right now because nobody paid taxes on it and the county gave it back to us. But the guy, I think he even mows a little bit of it, would like to combine that into his land, which is beneficial to the town because then you're putting that land to private property. They are paying taxes on it. Makes sense. So this is the current configuration where you got landlocked parcels and backyards that don't really line up with each other. And then his proposal is to make one lot for the existing home here. This is essentially a new building lot then, where you'd be able to put the house somewhere on this parcel and have the backyard there, and then make this one giant parcel, which would combine the landlocked piece, which can't be built on because there's no access, and combine the little sliver from the town of Niskayuna because it's not helpful to anything except for the person that lives here. And so then you would just have 1, 2, 3 lots, and they would all make, I guess, a lot more sense, and you'd be creating one buildable lot, if that makes sense. So that's 4 lots currently, proposed to be 3.
Do you want to
Now-
talk about the paper street at all, Laura?
Yeah, so High Street and Gasner are both paper streets. That's why this current lot does not have access. Neither of them have improved street on them in any way, shape, or form. The town wouldn't ever put a road through there. And if a developer wanted to do it, it's very, very costly because it's a lengthy amount of road that you'd have to build to get back to any of these things. But the planning board did look at this and say, like, if you were to put the house here, somewhere down the line, could you subdivide this little piece off? Because it sort of looks like, 2 parcels now anyway, if this road was ever to be built, and put a house that would face this road. And the answer is, if this road was ever to be built, which is unlikely, you could theoretically subdivide this into 2 pieces and put a house on Fillmore and a house on Gasner. And then Clark, in the back of the packet, Clark did a little analysis of like the lots, which this is very similar to what you guys looked at on Hilltop as well. What the square footage of the lots, of the proposed lots, would look like. And I mean, Clark, you can jump in here. I think the one lot's really big. That's the one, honker that takes the 2 parcels into it. The other ones I think are pretty standard size lots for that area.
Now, Laura, there is the one existing house is non-conforming currently, and it would remain non-conforming, or it's grandfathered in. Is that correct?
So when they're doing lot line adjustments, if they make a non-conformity worse, it has to go to the zoning board. But if the existing non-conformity is essentially not changed by any of the lot line adjustments, then it's allowed to remain. And in this case, the non-conformity on this property is both to the front lot line and the garage to this rear lot line. And so nothing is being changed with those non-conformities by the lot line being here or here. So the pre-existing non-conforming part of this lot remains the same. If if there was a non-conformity like over here, and by moving this lot over here, you're making it shorter, then you would need the zoning board. But neither of these non-conformities are changed by this proposal.
I'm sorry, when I looked at this, I can't. Can you just tell me where Fillmore Avenue ends?
Fillmore Avenue is it ends in the Woodlawn Nature Preserve.
So what's wrong? So the lot number 1 has no access to Fillmore Street.
No, well, on this existing one?
No, on the last one, on the proposed. So
yeah, no, it does. It right now there's an existing house on lot 1.
Okay.
All lot 1 is doing is gaining yard. He's
Okay.
getting more yard over here and more yard over here.
Okay, so whoever, so does somebody live in that house right now?
Yeah, people live in this house and in this house.
Okay, so they're just, so the people who live in the house in one are just gonna get more yard? For
Yeah.
free?
I mean, they sort of mow it right now. Here, I'll show you. It's sort of mowed right. Yeah, no, it's
The person proposing the subdivision lives in that lot 1, right, Laura?
Yeah.
So he's already paying taxes on it, I guess is my question. You know, like it's not like somebody's coming to my house and being like, oh yeah, so we're gonna increase your lot and oh yeah, here's your added tax bill.
Right. I think it's actually these right here. Yeah. So like I can't rotate Google, sorry, but this is 537 is this house. 537 right here. And then 509 is this house right here with the 2 garages. And so the proposal would be that a single family home could be built here. And then this would be like their backyard. And then this guy, well, so that landlocked piece is kind of forest, but you can see he sort of mows that town property now. It's part of it. The only way that it makes sense is like his yard. It's the only way it makes sense to be there because nobody could ever put a house on it.
Okay, and the width across between the 509, there's enough space to put a house in between there without him moving his driveway?
Yeah, and he doesn't need variances or anything. So the width across is 80 feet, which is per the zoning for R2.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, this is kind of like a random thing, but if you can see, it's actually surrounded by like a lot of forests, right? So the town owns all of this. It's deed restricted forever to be forest. And Schenectady owns this over here. This is the Woodlawn Nature Preserve. And it's actually intermittently connected to the pine bush, which is down here. So you can kind of take like all of this green space and it connects down into the pine bush. And so they were talking about trying to make one large entity, the pine bush, to combine with the Woodlawn Nature Preserve. And I think our land is actually called the Stanford Forest or something like that. But it's all interconnected here, which is cool. But that doesn't actually have anything to do with the subdivision application. But
yeah, and I was looking at that, Laura. It looks like the boundary of that parkland, though, goes right up against that paper street. So would he even be able to build a road back there?
well, we looked because the city of Schenectady parcel here is clearly deed restricted as parkland forever. And this land over on this side is clearly deed restricted and parkland forever. But it doesn't appear that Gasner Ave has a deed restriction on it. When Clark and I did the research, it looks like it's possible. But if you look like on a larger scale, like this just is like the Google version of it. But I think Gasner Ave stops way up here. So you would have to build a road for hundreds and hundreds of feet, and you can't access anything on this side because that definitely is deed restricted in parkland.
Yep.
So the only thing you'd be able to access is potentially a couple parcels way down here, and putting that level, putting in the utilities and putting that square footage to serve only a couple houses in the back here would be highly, highly unlikely.
Yeah, and it looks like there's DEC wetlands back there.
There are, yes, there definitely are some DEC wetlands in that area as well. You can see that. You're probably looking at Sims, right?
Yeah, I am. I looked it up, yeah.
So, like, the planning board, I think, is pretty supportive, or well, not the planning board, the planning department is pretty supportive of this proposal because it's taking kind of, our comprehensive code likes, comprehensive plan likes a little bit more square lots that make sense. So it's taking kind of lots that are a little bit funky and making them straight and normal, and you're incorporating unusable land into a parcel that makes it you know, more better, makes a better parcel and also puts things on the tax roll that, you know, would otherwise just keep getting lost because they're landlocked. So, so I think that we think that you know, you're taking 4 lots and making them 3 and, kind of making good use of that area, but we don't always think of everything. So. I was just gonna put the wetlands on for you guys to see. The wetlands are part of the reason that some of this is deed restricted, but yeah. Can you see the hatched with the green outline? Those are the DEC wetlands. And these are the parcels right here.
Thank you.
So, do we have any further discussion on this EAF at all? Or?
I'm good. I think that it's a good use. I think that, you know, if it puts it on the, gets it back on the tax roll, and I like the configuration better as well. I think it's a win-win.
Okay. I happen to agree with you, Ellen, on that. So yeah, I don't really see anything really negative about this.
Because all the wetlands have already been marked out around it. So, and, you know, and he's not, you know, he can't turn it into, he can't like knock down his building and put, you know, an apartment building in, correct? You know?
Correct, yeah.
So okay. So do you guys want to just fill out the questions? I think they're mostly no's. Let me just pull them up quickly and we'll try and go faster. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with adopted land use? I would say no. Everything's per zoning and they're making things a little bit better there. Will the proposed action result, just stop me if you want me to note or change anything. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? I don't think so. You're going from 4 parcels to 3. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? Again, I don't think so because it's going to make that one parcel a little bit nicer. There's no CEAs there. It's not going to change the level of traffic or impact water or sewer. I don't think there's any historic, archaeological, or aesthetic resources down there. Here, sorry, computer problems. Will the proposed action result in an average change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies? So the interesting thing about this one that you can tell already is that new parcel is already completely clear. So you even you know, in a subdivision in this unit, we sometimes think even just a small change might impact, but it's already all on. So I would say no. And then proposed action result in an increase in potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage. I think it's pretty flat there. And sandy, actually, because that's why it's similar soils to. And then will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? I would say no. So did anybody have any changes, comments, anything they want to say about that?
So, right, so the idea is he's going to put another house there, right? That's the thought. And then, right, so the impact that it'll have on the environment is just a little bit more, it's going to have more, a little bit more, you know, it'll have a driveway. It's, you know, is it sewer or does, you know, or we don't have to worry about any of that. And so, and that line of trees can't be changed, right?
This one?
The, you know, that, yeah, that's all.
Yeah. That's the end of the property line.
Okay, so I don't know if you can put anything in there, you know what I mean? So
maybe if there's a new house there, they'll plant trees. I don't know. That's quite the lawn.
yeah, that would be my only thing. It's just the impact of another house, you know, as opposed to green space, but it's lawn, so it's not that it's not doing that great. So I don't think I have any added comments.
Okay, do we have anybody else have any comments on this, or? Do we have a motion on the floor? Does somebody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept. Is that what I'm supposed to
The
say?
negative deck?
A negative deck. Sorry.
I'll second.
That's fine. Okay. Any discussion? Further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we have
Aye.
any opposing? Is anybody abstaining from the decision?
Just as a clarification, am I supposed to like say aye, or if I'm not agreeing, say that?
So Rihanna, I have to get back to you on that because I think that the CAC is actually in some ways a legal entity that's restricted by number of people. And when we appointed you, we didn't have a full number of people, although now we don't. So I'm actually really not clear on that. But I would say, like, if, you know, you can still say that you support or detract, and, you know, that's completely fine. I just don't know if we would be able to record your vote or not.
Got it. Thank you. I just didn't want to not vote if I was supposed to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the motion is carried. Great. All right.
So the last one we can do pretty quickly, and we do not need to fill out the environmental assessment form, or
Okay.
They haven't even fully done their recommendation. I can just pop it up on the screen really quickly. This is very preliminary, but we're just putting it on your radar because it would be, you know, like maybe potentially action on the next meeting. And that is, and you may recognize this one because we actually have seen an application like this before as well. There's an existing building on Eastern. It was a doctor's office building, and when 1769 Union Street went in, the doctors in this building moved to 1769 Union Street. So it's been vacant for a little while. I think a real estate company, like a realtor company, was in there for a little while, but didn't last. And then during COVID, there were some lawyers in there, but generally speaking, this building has been pretty vacant. It's a little bit shabby, and the landscaping around it's pretty shabby. And so the idea would actually be to take the building down, take most of the landscaping down, and then redo it. So this is the existing building, and the idea would be to take that existing building down, put a new building slightly forward. This building, I think, is like 1.5 stories, maybe almost 2. But it's not like a full 2. You can see the little dormers. And then put a 3-story building there with mixed use, like professional office on the bottom, and maybe a handicapped apartment on the bottom, and then a 2nd and 3rd floor of apartments. Some of the things that I noted were, like, right now this is actually parking here, and they're showing this as green. So this may be good for stormwater or for some landscaping habitat opportunities.
So I don't see anything on the screen. I'm also looking at it. Just let you know.
Oh,
does anybody else see anything? Maybe I'm.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it as well.
Okay, it's me.
Sorry, Alan.
That's right. I have it on another screen as well. I'll just go to that one.
Okay. Yeah, so it does look like they're adding a little bit of green space in this corner. They'd be adding sidewalk. The Complete Streets wants them to take the sidewalk right to the property lines on either side. And I think that the square footage, the square footage of the building is slightly smaller, but 3 stories is obviously a higher visual impact because it's more than 1.5. And Claire, am I missing anything on there?
Just some other little details that I remember was I think there's a requirement for some covered parking that you can
Oh,
see
yes,
kind of at the top of the screen there, 12 o'clock-ish.
right here. So this would be some kind of covered parking. Maybe we can make it solar panel parking.
And there was also some talk about if it was 3 stories, trying to make it have a more residential look if possible, work with the Architectural Review Board. They mentioned the appearance of Brookdale versus the Albany Med building that's just kind of a cube, you know, make it look a little more residential, or things the planning board asked for.
Yeah, because Brookdale has is 3 stories and has a very nice residential look here. I'm dropping my little guy.
Brookdale has way more green space than the proposed this does, and and the 3 stories is much more prominent on that corner. So I'm not a fan, but and you know, so anything we can do to try to make it a little bit more, you know, eco-friendly would be awesome.
So this is the adjacent building, which is pretty much 1 story. This is the building that they would take down. And then the building on, whoa, sorry. This is the building on the other side, which is 2 stories. So they would definitely be taking a pretty flat building and then be making a pretty tall building on the other side, which is why, like to Clark's point, there was some concern at the planning board that you definitely want to make it look as residential as possible. If we were going to pass on comments, we would, like the 2 that I just heard, is need more green space and maybe not 3 stories. Or
what we don't want it to look like is, and that's a residential area on the other side of the street, or it's near residentials. We don't want it to look like the urgent care building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, this is the one that's
That would be
facing
mine.
the synagogue.
Yes,
Right?
the synagogue's right here. This is the synagogue right here.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, which is also a preschool. And then they have the other housing down there, you know, right next to that, which is all single. It just doesn't, a large building there doesn't go with any of the landscaping or anything that's currently there. There's nothing there that's big and, you know, and built up.
No, I agree with you.
Other apartments. Yeah, Van Buren apartments are right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are like 2 stories.
But they're more like garden apartments. They're more integral, it seems.
Oh, my computer is so annoying. There. So that's the building. Okay, so what would be the recommendation there? If you couldn't just say no, right? Because it's an allowable land use.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But
I
maybe not more green space and maybe not 3 stories, or consider
The elevation should have a residential feel to it.
I mean, if you guys drive down if you go down all the way down Eastern as you're driving into the city, you know, I think it's right across, they just put up that new apartment, you know, those 2 I think they're 2-story, you know, and they have like balconies on them, and they're like right on top of the street from, I think maybe it was an old church that's now like a Middle Eastern restaurant. Those, you know, I don't know if you guys drive down Eastern, but you can definitely see how it is much bigger than what was originally there and what was there. So I would suggest, you know, keeping with what's already, you know, the landscape. Yeah.
Keep it within the existing scale.
You can say it much nicer than me.
To keep harmony with existing neighborhoods. Okay, so I've got need more green space, elevation needs to have a residential feel, and they want to keep within the existing scale to keep within the existing neighborhood feel.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is in a location where if the wrong thing went in, it could be very detrimental to the neighborhood overall.
Okay, so we would want to, let's say we want to see elevations. 1, 2, 3 elevations. Okay.
I mean, in that proposal, I mean, he said that he was looking to make it into medical and apartments, right? That's what he was, was his plan.
Yeah.
So, which is what it was before, right? Like, is this the one that's on the corner or right?
So this is not on the corner, it's one in. And the
It's one
interesting thing with this is that it was a professional condo office. So I don't think anybody lived here, and there may have been an occasional doctor that lived in the second floor, but each like doctor's office owned its own little condo inside this building.
Yeah, because I know the one on the corner is also for sale that had like the oral surgeon in it.
That one was for sale, but I think that psychiatrist moved in. Clark, who moved into that one? The planning board looked at that. It was somebody moved into that one.
Oh, is that where the child psychiatrist went?
I think so. Like the planning board looked at that. It was an easy tenant change because it was like a dentist to a psychologist.
Yeah, it was an oral surgeon. He for many years. So I guess my question is this: is then can you can you put any stipulations on this, like for for the carbon footprint of it, to have solar panels? Can we do? I mean, what?
Yeah, so I think that should be like a standard recommendation from us. Would be the energy efficiency and green initiatives. And so like we could suggest like the solar panel covered parking spaces like they have in Rotterdam. Although like we just want to be a little careful with that because you wouldn't want it to be like out of character, like in Rotterdam, I don't know that there's anything around. Although I feel like if you're putting covered parking spaces, it's going to be ugly anyway. You might as well put solar panels on top of them, but I don't know.
I mean, are solar panels on top of houses considered ugly?
By some.
Yes, I know.
I mean, it makes sense if they have the right exposure, but if the roof isn't oriented right, then it doesn't do much for the building.
Yeah, so maybe we'll just do a general recommendation that, meet energy efficiency, like green infrastructure, like try to make the building,
I mean, from the design of it, it did look, I mean, if it's 3 stories and and all around it is parking, I mean, it's prime real estate for solar panels. Not now, it might not be right now, but 3 stories and, all those parking spaces around it from the diagram would be, but.
Yeah, so we can definitely put that in as because it's a brand new building, right? So you have a lot of opportunities to incorporate green practices in new buildings.
Yeah, I think the one positive thing I see is it's right up on the street. So it's going to be built right at the 15-foot setback, which I think is a good thing in the design, as opposed to having the parking lot in front.
Yeah.
Is his plan to take down but those trees he'll take those trees down, right?
I mean, you can actually tell this is from 2017 and the trees look way worse now. They're mostly dead.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were ash trees or not, but yeah, those trees are really suffering. You can also see that in their pictures. They look like 2 ash trees that died to me and the third one on its way out.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, if this area is going to become more commercial or mixed use in more of an urban setting, you want to start pulling the buildings close to the street and not have them set back and not have parking lots in the front, because it will not attract walking. You want to start basically encouraging pedestrian flow there. So, I think it's really important that the entrance to the building or an entrance to the building be up on the street, be close to the street, have a residential feel to it, not overpowering.
Okay, so that's just a quick overview. I wrote down a couple notes that Clerk and I can put in the agenda statement for the planning board on Monday to continue the discussion. And then we can get back to you on some of those questions for next month and see if we can get some elevations out of them.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Okay, discussion items. I don't see anything on our agenda. If we don't have any discussion items, I would go to reports. Laura, do you have anything we need to discuss?
Yeah, so in your packet, we did just want to give you a heads up. We didn't do an agenda statement or really start this because there's no EAF submitted yet. But the 3410 State Street, that's the Upstate Guns and Ammo building, currently has approval to have a temporary pod. Oh, I call them connexes. They're sort of like the back of 18-wheelers for storage, but he's not allowed to keep it permanently. So he's just recently submitted to the town that drawing in the back of your packet that shows the addition on the end. I'm having major computer problems. And I will bring it up for you guys to look at if I can get there. So really they would just be extending their building because they need a better place to store things, and it would be much better than the Connex. That's just to keep in mind, as we may be able to bringing that to you at the next meeting. I didn't know. I'm really having a hard time bringing it up on my computer. But if you guys had any thoughts or questions on it.
If you're familiar with the building, he's basically would be extending it from where it is towards Albany Street. So he would extend the building from State Street toward Albany Street. And his proposal right now is he would need area variances from the ZBA because he would be too close to Albany Street. And he would be too close. I think the only new variance he would need is for becoming too close to Albany Street. But the planning board has also asked for better elevation drawings than you'll see in this packet, which they also did for the project we just talked about to get him working with the architectural review board.
Mm-hmm.
So like right now there's a Connex sitting right here, and so they're saying, yeah, you can only have that for a little while, you got to get rid of that. And then so you'd be putting in an existing building, and this is the setback that Clark's talking about. So the building would get bigger. You might need some parking waivers, and those are some simple elevations of what the building would look like when it got bigger. It's a pretty small, this is it currently, and then so you'd see like everything gets sort of drawn out. This would be the addition here. So just be thinking about that one. If you have any thoughts or questions, pass them on to me and Clark. Our second report, this is a ton of data, which really probably don't need a whole lot of it, but essentially there's a gap in cell coverage in the GE Capel area. And this is a proposal to put a cell tower on an existing water tower at GE. And so the town's telecommunication code encourages co-location on a tall structure because that way you're not building a new cell tower. The town does on other water towers have cell antenna. And so this seems, even though there's a ton of documentation, it's essentially just adding antennas to the water tower at GE. And
It's only 106 pages long, Laura.
It's only 106 pages long. That seems like a pretty simple one to me. No new cell tower, like putting the antennas on a commercial parcel on an existing structure. Like you can't, as far as planning goes, get much better than that when you're putting up a cell. But that is what that one is, and I probably actually won't include the whole thing for you guys again unless you really want it, but they do have an EAF in there with some documentation of what they're asking for, and that is a special use permit under our code, even though it's a co-location. So we would probably bring that one to you for recommendation at the next meeting unless you had any major concerns.
Hey, Laura, am I correct in stating if they show a need, we really can't say they can't build it?
So that's correct. We, the federal, there's a federal, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on exactly. It's not FAA, it's like FDC or something, or FCC. It's FCC, yeah. The Federal Communications something or other, has quite a bit of legal guidance on cell towers because people get concerned about them being in their backyard. And yes, the answer to that is you can't say no to a cell tower for health concerns and reasons of not liking cell towers, but you can do some things when you're looking at siting them, but most of the things that you want to do when you're looking at siting them is put them on existing tall structures or in commercial areas. So
Thanks for that clarification.
yeah.
Okay, Ashok, do you want to fill us in on the NRI work that you've done in the committee?
Sure, happy to. So the working group has been meeting monthly. We meet the last Wednesday of each month. We have identified a consultant to work with. He's nice. And I mainly say that because of his emphasis on trips and youth outreach and getting the public involved. We have reviewed NRIs from other towns, and the main action item right now is the grant application to the community foundation, and I sent Dot and Laura the grant application for review. So far, the response from the community has been very encouraging. I'm particularly happy about the
Ashok, I think I lost you. You're frozen.
I lost him too.
Ashok, we didn't hear what you said the last like 30 seconds. You were frozen.
Okay, can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Excellent. I was saying the response from the community has been great, and I'm particularly glad because a lot of high school students are involved, and I believe a lot of those high school students showing up is because of our own Raina's very good work. But we do need to submit the grant application, and you know me, I like to move forward and keep things going. So I did send it to Dot and Laura, but if other people want to review the grant application, I'm happy to send it to you guys as well.
And I will be bringing it to the economic development, and Ashok, I'm sorry. Sorry that I forgot to send you the invite to Highway, but we'll be bringing it to the Economic Development Committee meeting on Friday, the grant application.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I will need the meeting invite for that, Laura.
Yeah, the economic development, yeah.
Yeah. But Dot and Laura, did you have a chance to review the grant application? Did you think it was okay?
I looked at it this afternoon, and you have to excuse me. My puppy is basically making his bed. Okay. I looked at it. I do have a few comments. Maybe I'll give you a call tomorrow about it, but I thought it actually read quite well. And they were concerning on, and I called Laura about this afternoon, but we really didn't get a chance to talk about it, is the CAC, do we need to be more descriptive of what the CAC actually does? And Laura, that's a question to you. And then the second thing is, we should probably be a little more definitive about the deliverables at the end, but we can talk tomorrow about that if you want.
Maybe just the three of us or whoever wants to be on there can powwow quickly tomorrow so that we're ready for Friday's meeting.
So I'm free tomorrow afternoon. Well, actually, I'm not free tomorrow. Well, tomorrow 1 to 3 p.m. I'm free.
I can support a conference call during that time.
So can we set a time?
Yeah, we can
Laura,
just do that. I think just very quickly, like probably not even more than like 10 minutes. If we just want to do it at 1, I think that'd be better.
Sure. Okay. 1 p.m. then.
Laura, do you have conference call capability or?
No, but I can send it Google Meets.
Okay. All right.
Which everybody can call in on their phone. Like
yeah, I'll bring my phone tomorrow and leave it in my car, and we'll talk.
And then just pop out at 1 p.m. and just call the phone number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we do it at 1:15 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Is that okay for you, Dart?
Yeah, I can support that.
Okay. And then what was the last one?
Okay, we have Ashok, were you done reporting? Or?
Yes, I'm done reporting.
Okay, Ellen, I apologize for the noise. Ellen, would you like to update us on the pesticide outreach?
That's hilarious. So, you know what? I just sent an email to Laura very nicely, and I asked her if there was any way we could do reach out at the tree, you know, when they were giving away the little tree things, but I was working that day. So Laura worked her magic as always, and she'll fill us in on what happened.
Yeah, Jean, it was actually Jean Magic, and we had a couple members of the tree council after they handed the cars the trees. We put the pesticide-free outreach pledge in their bags, and then we had a member of the tree council that was saying, hey, if you want to take it today, just drive over to a separate table that we had outside of the drive-thru for the trees. And we got a bunch of people that came over. I think it was like maybe 14 or so. Sorry. So in total, we've had 32 residents sign the pesticide-free pledge so far, and 24 of them wanted to receive more information about pesticide-free initiatives. 25 indicated they were already pesticide-free, and 4 of them said that they're willing to stop using pesticides. They're going to try a new way of doing their lawns. So that's exciting. And then 3 of them didn't answer the question if you guys are doing math. Well, let's listen that up, but I think Ellen just sent me an email with like some tips, and so maybe in another week or 2 we can do another email blast with grass tips, and then keep linking to the pesticide free pledge. It's on our website. The signs are cute. You can put them up in your lawn. It's very easy to sign and do. So far it's been going well.
Can you, and I'm going to go to the farmers markets, but when they start, I just don't know when they start.
Yeah. Okay. So we want to have a little table at the farmers market for people to take the pledge there as well.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
And I'd be willing to, if anybody wants to help, you can just let me know.
Ellen, I'm willing to help.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, me and Lily can come every once in a while, but her attention span is limited. So, but she might be able to get her friends to come over or something.
Perfect. Or yeah, and I think the next thing I need to do is I need to reach out to some that's kind of been bogged down these last couple of weeks doing some stuff. But I was thinking maybe the Brownie troops or and the Boy Scouts.
Mm-hmm. Really good idea.
If anyone else has any suggestions, I'm all ears.
Yeah. Oh, Rihanna, like maybe if there's a place that we could post a pledge at the high school and they could bring it home to their families. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I can definitely ask if there's a way to advertise that in the high school. Yeah.
I think that helped. We were able to do that for the Arbor Day. So that definitely helped for Arbor Day.
Would it be possible, we have a school vote coming up, would it be possible just to get the flyers at the polling place?
That's interesting. I actually think it's a totally separate. Oh no, that's a school vote. I don't know how that works. I have no idea. Because when it's like an actual vote, even though those are polling places, it's like it's a different entity that goes in and does the voting. But when it's a school vote, I think it's the school does it. So I don't know.
The school has more flexibility and latitude.
Yeah.
I don't know who you would reach out to.
Well, Rihanna, if you just want to think about ways that we can put that out there to the school, that would be great.
Absolutely. I'll also reach out to the environmental club and see if they can also help spread it through there.
Awesome. Cool.
Yay!
Great.
Thank you.
Good. Okay. Moving to LOMO and the biodiversity initiative update. And I know since Kathy has left our committee, that's a big loss for us.
Yeah, although ASHAC sort of took this one on. And ASHAC, like if you just want, like we went out and met and redefined the boundaries of the LOMO because when we did the outreach as the CAC, we met with the neighbors and they had some areas that wanted us to protect, continue to be mowed. And then we also noticed that there was a frisbee golf hole and then trails that weren't accounted for. So I brought a revised map to the highway committee today and did get it approved. It's 3 acres. I can probably pop it up on the screen if you guys want to see. And I think like it probably needs about 3 signs. It's gonna be very easy to mow a path through because we shrunk it down a little just so it's a little bit contained, but I think that makes it easier to sign. Now, Ishak, you want to just chat quickly while I find that on my computer?
Sure, I will chat. So this personally gives me a great deal of satisfaction because like at the CAC, we talk a lot about preserving open space, but this I think is nice because it is creating open space where none existed before. And people have talked to us in the committee about bobolink habitats and nesting birds. So we are creating a LOMO meadow that will play host to a lot of insects and birds. It is like an overall win-win situation for humans, nature, and everybody involved. Like I've been involved with starting a similar initiative at Union College. These things are like easy things that you can do to really help the environment.
And then the other thing that came out of the highway committee meeting this morning is that the Schenectady County is growing perennials for initiatives just like this one. And the highway did put in an order for us and we'll be picking up some perennials that we can plant. So I think that date that we would get them is like in the May 19th-ish area. And so when I know when we're getting them, I'll send an email out to anybody who wants to come out and help plant them. Pretty easy to plant. They should be small perennials. We can just pull some grass away, put them in, and then obviously when things start to grow, they'll just grow. That's the whole point of the Lomo and putting the perennials in there, but this is the area. Oops, I didn't quite get it. This was the tricky area that has the disc golf, and it has different trails that are coming in, and I had a couple of different maps where we were trying to do, but anyway, people were just like, you know what, like just start it there. Then there's a clear boundary of the Lomo. You can have 2 signs about the Lomo as you're entering the trail over to here. And then this split rail fence was a big deal to all the neighbors. So it can be Lomo behind the split rail fence, and then we can just periodically sign along the split rail fence what we're doing, and then you can have the nice trail between that habitat and over. And this is kind of a hill. It's much more of a hill than you realize when you're just looking at the thing. But yeah, this got approved this morning, so that's very exciting.
Yay! So can I just ask a quick question? Do we have signage?
No. I forgot to mention it this morning, but I really think, like, especially if we're sort of doing gateway signage here, that our old, I had it up on my computer. Thank you, many things up on my computer. But we did have 2 signs that we submitted to the highway department that we liked, and they're both really nice. Sorry. So the one is the pretty bee, and then the other one is a little bit more wordy with the habitat. Here it is. Sorry, guys. You see me? Here it is. These signs. I think we sort of settled on these ones.
Excellent. The one on the left-hand side, you can just order it from Etsy.
Oh, really?
It's like $27 or something like that. We ordered those for Union College.
Yeah.
Is that where you found it, Ellen?
So I don't think I did the one on the left. I think that's just something that we have. So I did the one on the right, but that's not appropriate for this. And then the other, I kind of took all that information like from, you know, the Albany habitat that they have over by I'm sorry, next to the airport. But I mean, that's very straightforward.
This one?
Pollinator friendly. I don't know, you know, if you want the bee or if you want to animate the bee and make it, you know, I'm good with either.
So, Aisha, can you send me the link for ordering the round ones?
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay. Unless anybody else has any objection, those would probably be the easiest ones to get up. And then we could also do one that's similar to this that has like a link to the CAC's website or something too. But we could get these up quickly after we plant, and then we can do another one maybe like, you know, at that entrance that has a little more information that people could like find about stuff.
Yeah, I think that's important considering that this is a demonstration project. It'd be nice to educate people as well. But I think those signs look great.
Yeah, I definitely think that we need a, you know, here's what we're doing and why sign, you know?
Yeah, because so what I would propose would be that we order 4 of the round ones and that they go along the split rail fence. And there's one of them at the entrance on that map at the golf range. And then we could do 2 of the other kind of signs that say what it is and what we're doing, one at either entrance of the trail.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
But we could definitely at least get the little round guys ordered and up. And then we can work on the other ones as we have time.
Ashok, have you gotten any of those in? Are they good quality?
Yeah, they come with attached stake. So they, you know, it's like they come in a big box. You literally just stick them into the ground. And they seem to be pretty sturdy, but full disclosure, we haven't put them in the ground at Union College yet. they're still sitting in my office.
No, but that, I mean, it's nice to know that you've, at least held them and, it's not like a piece of paper with, something matted on the top, you know what I mean? Like,
no.
So what I'm hearing is that we need to come up with the verbiage for the other sign for the entrance and what we're going to say. Is that our next step?
Yeah, like it could have like it could say, pollinator friendly meadow demonstration project. It could have a link to the CAC website. It could have a link to pollinator friendly things on it. Like it could just be a place where people could get more information.
Anybody interested doing that?
Ellen, I can help you do that. We can work on it together since you already have a little bit of a starting point with the, with the bobbling picture that you had.
Okay.
Nick or Ann, do you have any interest in helping on that project? No, that's fine.
So I was just going to take a lot of that information that was already written and then we'll try to figure it out. I'm going to be away this weekend, but I can start looking at it next week.
Sounds good. Okay.
The sign, well, one little thing, the sign that we ordered is like slightly different in that, like, in addition to saying pollinator habitat, it also says pesticide free underneath it. I'm guessing it's okay because they're not saying anything untrue. It is the meadow is still pesticide free.
I'll double check with Ray on that. I know that they try not to use pesticides on town land, but the town hasn't officially gone pesticide free. They're like 85% pesticide free. Okay. Like if they get like an outbreak of bugs and stuff, they have stuff on hand that they will use.
Okay, so let me send you, we have two signs. I will send you the links to both of them.
Okay.
Okay. Are we finished talking about Lomo?
I think that's everything from us, unless you guys have any questions for the team.
I think we've reached the end of our meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
All right, everybody have a good month, and we'll see you in a month.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, Laura, can I just ask you a quick question? Did you